Not too long ago, I obtained a PlayStation. For a while, I used it to get a taste of some exclusives I had missed over the years, then went right back to my PC. Because once I had turned 18, I basically vowed to put all my adult money into PC gaming, having grown up on consoles my whole childhood. That was until the satisfaction of collecting trophies and the idea of the challenge behind getting rare and difficult to get trophies drew me in, bringing me to eventually getting my first platinum. Listen, I love the combat, okay? Today, I returned to Jedi Survivor. Going into this, I expected a rough time, and I was definitely right, at least for the early games, seeing as how Grandmaster turns the game into a cluster of relentless attacks at all times, wherever you go. You'll die to a light sneeze in the next room. So there were many trials and much tilting along my 30-hour journey in a galaxy far away, but by the end, I was happy I had embarked on the adventure. I hope you all enjoy it as well. Like and subscribe for more videos like this. I promise to do my best to improve with each and every one. Let's get into it. Our journey begins on Coruscant. A quick bit of deception gives us face-to-face with Senator Daho Sejan. But unfortunately, he gets away for the moment, and we must fight our way through some rather easy encounters as we go through the game's onboarding process, basically. Now, over the years, my muscle memory for a controller has slowly been chipped away and replaced with mouse and keyboard, so our first major challenge with this series was getting used to the controller again, trying to make ourselves feel a bit less like a donkey holding this thing, and just relearn the buttons specifically for this game, because I have over 100 hours on this game on PC, so there's a decent bit to relearn and transfer the muscle memory over to. And it really shows too, because the first death comes pretty quick. Fuck! I didn't think it would explode so fast. But what kind of Jedi would I be if we gave up at the first sign of adversity? So we pushed forward, and we continued to fight our way through. Before too long, we are once again aboard the Senator's ship, where we quickly force some security codes out of him, since Cal can now perform Jedi mind tricks, and this will be one of our best tools against some of the more ridiculous fights later on. Once again, we are attacked and thrown off plan though, so after landing down in the meat factory, we will grab our first stim upgrade, increasing the amount of times we can heal by 1. Then dispatch our first purge trooper before grabbing a force upgrade, and then obtaining our very first trophy of the playthrough in the next room. Battle to the death. First trophy, yeah, I thought I saw that in there. Mirror matches for forcing enemies to kill each other with the confuse ability. And with that, we are 1 out of 54. Just a few more enemies to get through though before we meet an old adversary from the first game, as well as the holder of our second trophy. Overall, it's a pretty easy fight, and I've done it enough to where, even on controller, it wasn't going to be much of a problem. So we cleaned up the Ninth Sister, obtained the dual-wield stance, obtained our second trophy for defeating the Ninth Sister, and then got the heck off Coruscant. Then as we go to leave, our next trophy pops, just another progression trophy. We can't forget the cyan lightsaber before we drop into the first of many trips to Kobo of the playthrough. Now as we make our way through these areas, I'll be doing most of the exploration, even that of which is not tied directly to trophy progression, but the majority of what I'll show in the video will be. Thankfully, this game doesn't require 100% exploration or collectibles for the platinum. For now, just know that my main focus is to casually explore as I make my way through the story while focusing on progressing trophies that require a bit more of a grind, such as using abilities a certain amount of times. While none are all that crazy, we have 6 trophies that require using an ability in a certain way. Ones that I'd like to get done as I go through and not have to worry about going out of my way towards the end of the playthrough, such as avoiding 50 attacks with focus sight or attacking 20 lifted enemies. So these were always at the back of my mind during combat, and there were plenty of times early on where I made fights harder than they needed to be because I was trying to force these trophies a bit more than I admittedly needed to. As I said, none are really all that bad, so I definitely didn't need to worry about it so much. However, one thing we did need to do was try and unlock the associated skill for the trophy, So that meant picking the right things to unlock to get us gradually closer as we went, and that way I didn't like forget about it, and then all of a sudden, you know, I need to come up with the XP to get it done. Even though you can reset the skill tree in this, so in the end, it really wasn't that big of a deal, luckily. As I continued to find my way to the saloon, and after getting my ass kicked by this guy a few times, I managed to get another trophy. Riposte is for getting a perfect parry on a force-resisting enemy. Up ahead, we started running into some boglings, and there is a trophy for petting a bogling, but these were not the boglings we were looking for. We are now thrust into the largest and most open map of the game. It is also the one with the most required exploration, mostly because of the priorite shards, but we'll be getting to that later. For now, I just did a small amount of exploring as I made my way to the saloon. I did, however, stumble across the proper bogling, so we did get that trophy. For the most part, exploration feels rather discouraging in this game early on. A combination of Grandmaster making most places way harder than it need to be, as well as needing abilities from later on in the game anyway to be able to fully explore most areas. So you most likely, you know, you'll go down a path fighting a bunch of hard enemies, and then you'll discover that, oh, you need this electric dart ability from the end of the game to be able to finish the path. So that means we just have to go back down the path again, kill everything again, you know, go through the whole process again. So might as well just wait until later on, towards the end of the game, to actually do all that stuff. Stuff like that kind of kept me from really worrying about it until towards the end of the game anyway. We would proceed to absolutely wreck Zeke, and then we are at Grease's good old cantina, a place we'll be making many trips to throughout our journey. This place will be like home to us. And this also earns us our 6th trophy. After a Jedi nap, it's off through the smuggler's tunnels to save Z. Then so begins my regular ritual of speed talking to all the visitors of the cantina to see if they have any side quests for me. Using the force on this toilet earns us another trophy. I then make my first trip over to Doma's shop right next door to the saloon. This is what turns into one of the biggest grinds of the game for me, honestly, is the priorite shards, because we have to buy every single item in Doma's shop, which requires obtaining every single priorite shard. And if I would have, you know, been a little more efficient with this, kind of like looking up the locations of everything as I went through the areas, I mean, I guess I still would have had to go back through anyway, because there's a lot of areas that you can't get to until later in the game, so either way, it's a big pain in the ass that requires you to basically go back through every single spot and like grind all these little priorite shards to be able to buy everything. No need to worry about that too much for now, so I set off for the forest array. Along the way, I did come across our first of 7 meditation chambers required for the Star Tours trophy. We then arrive at the forest array, and it is now time for our first major boss fight. The first of 3 with Dag and Gara. hit you so much faster than it looks like it's going to. It's one of those attacks.
What?
Not my cleanest dagon ever, but it does earn us another progression trophy. After obtaining our Neko mount, I stopped by Noma's once again, and this time purchased the mysterious key code, which allows us into her back room, netting us another stim. Back at the cantina, I stare shamefully into my dirty and empty aquarium, knowing all too well that we needed to be poppin' with 12 different fish by the end. Next, I head up to the roof to see an empty garden that will also need to be filled for the growth spurt trophy. And now, it's time to knock out some more exploration. We now arrive at Fort Kalen, one of the more difficult parts of Kobo in my opinion, being filled with a dense amount of tough enemies on top of the area's rather large size make it especially dangerous early on. It's so dead. So, after an incredibly intense and frustrating fight to get inside, a droid from above hit a perfect Kobe and finished me off, causing me to take my Jedi business elsewhere for the time being. On my travels, I came across the second meditation chamber. Then I submitted to my stubbornness and returned to Fort Kalen to at least get to the meditation point. It was bugging me that we failed the first time. Upon returning, we did succeed, and I decided to give the Spawn of Hell a try. Couldn't be happy with my success. Had to give myself some more pain. And yes, the frog promptly kicked my ass, bringing me to dread one of the later fights with two of these things at once, even more than I already was before the playthrough had even began. I vowed vengeance upon the frog, and decided to continue with the story for now. So we took to the ship and headed to Jeddah to meet a few old friends. But not before giving the first Force Tear of the playthrough a try. There are a total of 15 of these we must complete for the Blood, Sweat, and Tears trophy. However, these tend to be rather difficult fights on Grandmaster, as we have just seen, and are more geared towards a Jedi with some powerful abilities to control the flow of battle, so for now, I'll mostly be ignoring these. This dude makes the big mistake of putting his hands all over Marin's property, so she quickly shows up to help us murder every living thing from here to the Anchorite's base. Along the way, we get the trophy for They Never Saw It Coming, which is for attacking 20 unaware enemies. Once we arrive, our long, perilous journey is swiftly rewarded with a progression trophy. And a reunion with Seer, the best Anchorite. We then obtain the blaster stance, which I will be using for the majority of the game alongside double-sided. It just seems to have the most utility to me, and both have some nice feeling animations and reach. Next, we are off to the Shattered Moon. At this point, I need to apologize for the video quality. Not sure what was going on with my capture card, but the recording turned out much darker, almost like it made all the color much deeper a lot of the time, but thankfully it was only for the session, which was a small portion of the footage. The first trip to the Shattered Moon is mostly traversal with a few tougher enemies thrown in, but mostly nothing too important. I did, however, focus on trying to get some progress towards a few ability trophies and got myself killed a few times. But it was all worth it since it did lead to me completing Pinpoint. Which is for executing 10 perfectly timed precision releases. I proceeded to give this forced hair I found a few dirty words before leaving to obtain my next trophy at the local workbench. Kitted out is for customizing one of everything at the bench. Now, the main thing left to do before getting off this rock is to swing over here and face the first of the lightsaber-wielding raiders. And with Crossguard in hand, we make for the ship and head back to Koboh once again. Back at the cantina, I make my rounds. Not forgetting to stare solemnly at the fish tank and remember what I'm fighting for. One thing I grabbed from Z's shop was a perk slot, because one of our trophies requires us to put a perk in every perk slot, so that requires us to unlock every perk slot, which there's 10 in total, so we need quite a few of them, and this is one of them, so I grabbed that now while I was here. Before heading out, I make the mistake of trying holo tactics for the first time. Even when playing before, I never really gave this minigame much attention, and upon playing it again, I was quickly reminded why. I'm dumb and bad at it. For the most part, it seems to require a pretty solid strategy and knowledge of what's going to beat what, and without a guide, it's a lot of trial and error while having to start over from wave 1 every single time. So after making it to 2 locked and hitting a wall, I tried a few guides, and even that seemed pretty inconsistent and random. Eventually, I decided to save this for later. So we head out into the arid wastes of Kobo. Fight our first bounty target, meeting Cage, and obtaining a trophy. We open up these air vents to reach the top. And show this dude his inadequacy at wielding a lightsaber. It is now time to return to Jeddah to show our research to Cordova and progress the story. Picking up the Greasy Money trophy along the way, which is rewarded for trading 25 collected items. For the most part, it's time to sit back and enjoy some longer story pathing with not much of note related to trophy progress. That is until we come across Pilly, who will be essential to our gardening back at the cantina. So after recruiting her and another quick fight, it's time to unlock our dash ability and take on the mining drill, which is more of a series of tough fights and long traversal sections that is actually quite fun. As we near the end of our second journey through Jeddah, we get yet another progression trophy. But once again, we set our sights upon Kobo. I make another trip through the cantina, obtaining a bounty target while I'm there. I end up recruiting Scuba and obtaining our first of 12 fish for the fish tank. I then somehow ended up on the mountain ascent path that we come to later in the game, but it was worth it because I got a trophy for dropping my mount into the unknown, and I have no idea how. That Neko that I dismounted from, it was like 5 minutes ago, no joke. It must have just walked off the edge, and it gave me the trophy, so I'll take that. And then I also got our second fish while I was there, and I completed our third meditation chamber, so lots of progress all around. I then get back on the main path, and then we're on our way to rescue Z from the Lucre Hulk. On the way, we get our third fish, as well as find Zig and Winnie nearby, which we must complete their side quest to recruit them to the cantina for a trophy, so we'll be back to do that after the Lucre Hulk. Shortly into fighting our way side by side through the scrap ship, we obtain the trophy for directing each of the companions to attack 10 times. I then realize that I've been neglecting the blaster skill tree since we need to use the point blank skill 10 times as well. I begin working my way towards unlocking it. From there, all that is left is to fight our way to Z in the next boss fight. Unfortunately, these big boys tend to trip me up pretty hard, especially when I haven't played in a while, and apparently I had forgotten to just dodge to the side for their big slam attack, because he absolutely wrecks me for a while here. Or something, like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. Every fucking time without second before moment I hit the button. What do you do? With some of the toughest fights of the Lucre Hulk section out of the way, we unlock another ability that will be crucial in our exploration endeavors, the Lift and Slam ability. I then knock out another trophy for that quick dopamine hit by equipping a different hairstyle, which meant that we had customized one of everything on Cal, earning the Luke at Us trophy. With my new ability, I do a bit of exploration before continuing on to Dagon, and I stumble across another legendary enemy we need to kill, the Massive. At this point, I started playing a little off-stream, so this is why you won't be seeing a face cam every once in a while. All that's left is for us to defeat Dagon Gara for the second time. What? What? Damn it.
Oh, when he's gonna actually, like, you know, block you or just keep attacking. It's tough.
This earns us the Out of Bedlam trophy. We save Z, and we get the heck out of the Lucre Hulk. Stopping to get the data pad and recruit Zig and Winnie. From here, I do another round of exploration in Kobo, leading me back through to the beginning path once again. The fourth meditation chamber is quickly knocked out, right before finding our fourth fish as well. The progress is just rolling at this point, and it's feeling real good. I finally remember that these green glowy things mean seeds. Then earn our 21st trophy by helping this little bot, while also recruiting him to the cantina as our pit droid. Further ahead, I take on the next bounty target, Kip O-Star, who of course is rather easy, but these can get rather frustrating later on, as we will be seeing. Returning to the cantina, we grab a bounty, gain a glint of admiration and pride for our fish tank, plan our first few things in the garden to Pilly's pure delight, then it's off to the Shattered Moon to take on Ravis and earn a trophy or two along the way. Like, during this fight, we throw this dude into the beam and achieve This is Canon. Time for a quick outfit change before arriving in the area surrounding Ravis's chamber, where we proceed to murder everything in sight, eventually leading us to an Ascension cable upgrade, allowing us to finally reach Ravis and take on one of my favorite fights of the entire game.
Jumping. Damn it. Oh my god. Dude, my block didn't even work. Oh, I gotta stop expecting to be able to parry in time, I guess. Little AoEs. Tried to make that shit blend in as much as they could for some reason. The opposite of the point of a indicator. You really can't see it. You can't see it at all.
After much fumbling and trying to relearn his timings, which was faster than I had remembered, Ravis was defeated, and it was now time to return to Kobo once again, with a final face-off against Dag and Gara on the near horizon. But first, you can probably guess by now, I'm gonna do some exploration first, so I proceed to get railed by the Rancor. I then decide to give up on exploration for now. Back on the main path, we begin our ascent through the clouds, on our way to the observatory. obtaining the electric dart ability, and actually completing our first force tear of the playthrough on the way. Next is one of the more pain in the ass fights of the whole main path, in my opinion, because of these sentry droids, and having to fight two at once just isn't fun. Once we're finally through that though, I take my frustration out on poor Rick. Now we are at what is probably considered to be the halfway point to Dagon, but first I take this elevator down and along this side path. In a basement, I recruit another droid and discover the funky caverns. I'm probably saying that horribly wrong, which exploring will award us with a trophy. So I get started. Fortunately, coming across another Rand core that this time I am determined to take down. Down here, I stumble across our 5th fish, and then clean up one more lightsaber-wielding raider, obtaining the trophy It's a Trap for reaching the end of Funky Caverns. Before Continuing, one thing I did with my skills was obtain a few for the lift and slam ability, making it easier to work towards certain trophies for them. Then it's back on the main path. Side by side once again, Bode and I fight our way through the hordes of raiders to face Dagon. Obtaining the Slam Dunk trophy along the way for slamming 5 enemies at once. One thing I've found to be nice with this version of Dagon is to use Blaster for his clones, but I forgot and went to old muscle memory equipping dual wield instead. Got wrecked a few times.
It would not let stuck in a weird animation. Oh, so close. So hard to fucking parry that thing. Yeah, Blaster stands the way to go.
Upon victory, our next progression trophy pops, and I head back to the cantina to do my rounds. Finding a force tear on top of the silo by the garden, which I do manage to complete. I also achieved victory against the Rancor in our rematch. While out exploring, I get the trophy for riding my mount 500 meters. And I locate the 5th meditation chamber, which is thankfully just another lightsaber fight instead of a puzzle. Nap a few seeds before farming this poor droid for focus dodges, knowing we gotta be getting close to that trophy. I do, however, get the trophy for using the point blank skill 10 times, which brings me to a new trophy milestone actually, so that was quite nice. We destroy a legendary droidica after a rather annoying fight. I then decide to take on the Mire Terror, which is a huge, frustrating pain in the ass until I realize that I can confuse the one that's not technically considered a boss. I initially tried, but I must have done it on the one that was the boss and just assumed that it wouldn't work on either of them. So once I realized that I could confuse one of them, it really turned the tide of the battle and made it way easier. I then discovered the mullet, which we will be needing for the Roadhouse trophy, simply requiring us to dropkick an enemy while wearing it. At this point, I was pretty much on a mission to hunt down legendary enemies. My first target was the Matriarch. We then took out B2D2. And I prepared myself for the great frustration, and let's be honest, straight up bullshit that is the spawn of Ogdo. Honestly, I forgot that most of his attacks required a jump, instead of just trying to dodge to the side, and once I remembered that, the fight really wasn't that bad. We got him pretty quick after that, but the force tear that this unlocks most certainly will be. I'm not excited for that one. Then acquired some new Jedi drip that I quite liked in Marl Cavern, and will be wearing for the rest of the playthrough mostly. Our next bounty target is in the Foggy Expanse, so we cut him down. Next, we take on the Vile Bile Maw, our next legendary. And then we take down the next bounty target at the Force Array before heading back home once again. Quite a few targets eliminated. I cruised through the cantina before heading back out into the wilds of Kobo to complete our third Force Tear. Shortly after I come across the final meditation chamber, once again I must apologize. Some of my footage was ruined while recording, and I seem to have lost my clip of the 6th meditation chamber, so unfortunately I had to skip to the final one. And I'm hoping this is the only issue like that I'll have, but I'm rather new at this, and with over 30 hours of footage to edit, I'm doing my best to improve on the fly. So hopefully it doesn't happen again, and I do apologize, but at least it's just a meditation chamber, not anything all too exciting to show. This does, however, earn us the Star Tours trophy. I chased down our next bounty target on the Shattered Moon. I then get back on the main path to Jeddah, where deep, painful betrayal awaits us. Bode destroys me, then it's time to play as the badass seer for a bit, where I see a great opportunity with this section to farm a trophy for a certain force ability, and it worked beautifully. Even if it did mean that I took a very unnecessary amount of damage in the process, I quickly got the trophy for attacking 20 lifted enemies.
Whoa, hey, what the fuck? Nice. Close. This is a close one.
Once we say goodbye to Seer for the last time, we earn our 30th trophy before heading to Nova Garon to seek vengeance and more trophies. I had this really fun bug happen, no joke, like 3 times in a row, where after killing everyone on the way to this door, BD just gets stuck and won't slice it, and just glitches out completely. So I have to reload and do it all over again. So that was slightly tilting to say the least, but eventually we make it through the door and continue the slaughter all the way to Bode's room. We go undercover to sneak behind enemy lines, where eluding our vengeful grasp once again, Boat escapes, and we unlock the upgrade for our slow ability, which is also another perfect opportunity to make sure we get a trophy. During this section, our slow-mo recharges very fast. It's balanced around just using it in every fight for the rest of Nova Garon, basically. So we easily obtain the Han Slow-Lo trophy for killing 50 enemies under its effects. On our way out, we get another progression trophy. Now there isn't much left of the story, mostly the final confrontation with Bode, so I figured I would clean up a lot of side stuff before aligning the arrays on Kobo and heading to Tanalorr. I did get our 6th fish earlier on, but lost the clip in editing until now. I'll slip this in right here, fishy number 6, let's go. I only just realized that I had already gotten the headband and must not have noticed buying it from Doma earlier. I didn't even know that she sold it, I figured it was in a treasure chest that I was looking for. So I head to Jeddah to train with the mannequin and grab another trophy. Also, we had been racking up a lot of skill points with all the exploration we had been doing so far, and I managed to fill 3 separate skill trees and obtained a trophy for it. At this point, I set out on a mission to clean up Jeddah, since I hadn't done much there so far in the playthrough, and I knew it contained multiple legendaries, as well as forest tiers, and this large map-spanning puzzle that'll get us multiple extra perk slots that we'll be needing. Solving each area's puzzle awards us with a slot, as well as helping us to unlock the main central area. I ran into our next bounty target while I was out. And took down the golden Skriton as well. I finally found the first of the parkour force tears, and I quickly completed it, making it number 4 of 15. Nearby, Scuba caught us our 7th fish. And finally completing all the puzzles unlocks the central area and awards us with Cordova's lightsaber, which has my favorite emitter, and I'll be using it for the rest of the playthrough. We also got an extremely helpful upgrade for our map, so it now shows us treasures like Priorite shards and will be essential to helping me finish Doma's shop. Before leaving Jeddah, we still have a few more things to do. One of them being taking on one of the most pain-in-the-ass bounties in the game, Kilioso. But on the way to him, I completed another force tear. Now between us and our target, there's a veritable army of bounty hunters standing in our way, all incredibly annoying on Grandmaster. So I do my best to run past the majority, eventually making it to the first encounter with him, and I easily send him packing with some perfect deflections. And once we chase him to the next area, however, he has a gang with him to just spam you down. So I ran past him, went to the hallway there, and I got super lucky and almost no one followed except for our target. Once he was dealt with, I knocked out another tear. Before returning to Kobo to immediately conquer another. I saved the Jawas and earned the trophy for reaching max capacity at the cantina. At this point, one of my main goals was priority hunting. I saw that as one of the worst grinds left, honestly, and I just wanted to get it done. While on my hunt, I discovered scuba near the cantina, earning our 8th fish. Down in the smuggler's tunnel areas, I found another perk slot. I completed another parkour tear. And then got fishy number 9. Once again, I make my rounds through the cantina, a place that had become rather familiar and cozy along my journey. I grab another bounty, bask in the splendor that is our fish tank, and I plant new seeds that I had gathered along my travels. But I wasn't done with Kobo yet. I set out once more on the hunt for shards. Along the way, I recognized the name Harvest Ridge from the trophy list, so I detoured to explore it more. I got the final perk slot unlocked as we climbed. Then once we reached the very top, we earned King of the World. I also proceeded to equip all perks in the fresh perk slots. An unlocked perk of the job, another silver trophy. I gave another bounty hunter the murder. I rode this big-ass bird over another parkour tear. Then mostly just collected priorite shards and seeds for quite a while. At this point, I did have some footage get messed up on me, so I had to pull some of what I could from the PS5's automatic recording, but I didn't miss much, except for a little bit of the first half of this forest tear. But we did get victory. I managed to hitch a ride off of this big fella's whisker into a secret area where I loaded up on shards and a few seeds before coming across our 10th fish. Eventually I hit a point where there's no shards left on Kobo, and I actually still need quite a few more for Doma's shop. And then I realized there's actually shards on Nova, Garon, and Coruscant still. I completely blanked that there were shards on other places other than Kobo. I decided to align the arrays while we were still here, and then we could progress the story from there. But unfortunately this leads us to one of the most pain in the ass fights on the main path. Even worse probably than the double sentry fight on the mountain ascent path. With the path to Tanalor now open to us, we earn another trophy, getting close to our last progression trophies. I grabbed another bounty, and this was a big one. I then feel left out of the T-Pose party on our way over to Coruscant. This was my first time returning since the beginning of the game, so there was lots to do and I wanted to clean up mostly everything, especially the Pyrite shards, before heading out to face Bode and finish the story. We're pretty quickly greeted by a legendary sentry droid. Not long after, I stumble across an unexpected bounty hunter, so I quickly shoot first and ask questions never. Frenzied Jotas needs to be put down for the legendary trophy. Luckily, most of these bigger monster fights aren't too big of a deal anymore, seeing as how we have so many heals and enough health to live any attack for the most part, coupled with the fact they tend to have one or two attacks that just repeat, and they're pretty simple. That meant thankfully we weren't tripping up so much on them anymore, and most we were getting first try. I finally decided to grab the reconnaissance trophy and use BD1 to investigate an enemy in the distance, earning us a long overdue trophy. At the very end of the path where our journey began, I came across one of the main fights I had been dreading since deciding to do this video, the double Rancor. This and the double Frog can feel just awful to do on Grandmaster. At least that's how I remembered it back when I first did it, but luckily after a few mistakes, all it took was some Jedi patience, and it wasn't nearly as bad as I remembered.
Not taking any risks here. We got our strat. We know what we're doing. Stick to it. Nice. Let's go, man. Second try. I'll take that.
After spending 6 straight minutes running in circles, only attacking after one of their lunge grabs, the double Rancor was defeated, and our trip to Coruscant was over rather quick. Next, I took a trip to Jeddah to hunt another bounty. I realized I still hadn't gotten the trophy for not touching ground or walls for 60 seconds, so I quickly got that after returning to Kobo. We slay another bounty while I was there. Before making the return trip to Nova Garon to grab some of the last Pyrite shards, while also coming up against a truly awful bounty fight along the way. Luckily, I got them first try. It took every heal I had and probably years off my life, but thankfully we did get them. And then I quickly grabbed the rest of the shards and got the heck out of there. Afterwards, heading back to Doma's shop, I disappointingly realized that I'm still 2 shards short. One of them I do know the location of, or at least I'm pretty sure. There's like this shard in these stables that I just could not figure out how to get. We'll be looking at that shortly. And then there was a second one that I could not find until I grabbed the next bounty target. And then I noticed that directly above where we needed to go, it was actually in the room the Lucre Hulk at the very top. So it worked out perfect. All we needed to do was fight our way through another army of bounty hunters, and then we could get one of the last targets killed, Joe the Cannibal, along with the missing shard. All that was left was to slay. It was more of a battle of minds than anything else, and by that I mean whoever cheesed better. And I'm proud to say my cheese came out on top. Luckily the AI can't handle those stairs very well, because screw every enemy in that fight basically. With the next shard in hand, I leave the Lucre Hulk for the last time, and now it's time to figure out one of the last great mysteries left. How to get the shard out of the damn stable. So a quick Google search tells me that you apparently need a brightly colored Neko stable there, and when you rest it's supposed to have pooped out the shard. So after spending way too long trying different Nekos to get it to work, I reset my game, and finally, there was Pyrite in the poop. So with every shard hunted down, I returned to Doma's to buy the final music track and earn Splurgle for buying every item in her shop, and this definitely should have been more than a bronze because this was a grind. Riding the high of a fresh trophy, I decided to ruin it for myself and finally committed to getting the double frog fight done. Let me tell you, I must have used all my luck up on the double Rancor because this was rough.
Oh man, thank fucking God. That was like 7 or 8 minutes. Like that is just awful.
Once that was painstakingly completed, I headed out to take down Cage, since we had completed all her targets and the only one left was to defeat her. This gets us some FaceTime with Boba, and the trophy cage match. With most of the toughest fights behind us at this point, I look to the final 5 forced tears we have to complete, and I set out to achieve victory against each and every one. With that, the Blood, Sweat, and Tears trophy pops, meaning we had completed every single force tear, one of the most pain-in-the-ass parts of this entire playthrough over with. So let's go. From there I head to Jeddah on the hunt for our 11th fish, which, after Google solves this wall puzzle for me, I find Scuba behind it. Along with our final legendary enemy. Earning us the I'm a Living Legend trophy. Our final fish I find close to home in a spot I had come rather close to many times while doing the Neko poop grind. This earns us scuba diving as our fish tank is now full. It's at this point I start to worry about our tactical guide, as the Intergalactic Geographic trophy requires it to be at 100%. And I was very concerned I missed a scan on an enemy that I'd have to go through a whole nother playthrough to get. But I knew defeating Bode would help fill it out a bit more, and that was my only real course of action at the moment, so I decided to travel to Tanalorr and get my vengeance.
That is a really bullshit attack. I remember that being one of the worst ones when I was trying to do this without taking. Nice, let's go. First try Bode. I was being real careful at the end there, but I mean, at the same time, he just spams so much. He has some pretty ridiculous attacks. Like, you just...
Defeating Bode earns us a golden progression trophy for completing the story. But our journey doesn't end here. We still have work to do. A quick look at the tactical guide shows me I'm only 97% complete, and upon doing some research, I figure out that I'm missing the Viper droid scan and the Imperial officer, and both of these are luckily rather easy to get. So I head to Nova Garon for the droid. And the catch with this thing is that it needs to be scanned from a distance while it's still alive. I didn't even know you could do until now. The Imperial officer is actually the guy that comes crawling out of the walker after you destroy them, so I head to Jedi and quickly complete our tactical guide, earning us yet another silver trophy. I then discovered that equipping the poncho earns us this trophy. The brilliant minds of the internet told me this was a good spot to get our next one. That trophy was for hitting 3 enemies at once with a roller mine. Now, one of the biggest tasks left was figuring out this dang garden. So by now I expected all plots to be unlocked, but unfortunately when I returned, they weren't. So I tried making sure I had one of everything planted again, which is supposed to be what unlocks the garden, then left to go and quickly finish the trophy I'd been slowly chipping away at since the beginning. Now, with 50 focus dodges out of the way, I returned to the garden, which I still hadn't unlocked the final plot. But from what I could tell, some of the newer things I'd planted still hadn't fully grown, so once again I leave to work towards another big trophy, but not before admiring our now full fish tank. Sadly, it was now time to grind out holo tactics. Armed with a random guide, and having unlocked all the troops at this point, I blasted my way through each opponent and luckily got it done in no time. With that, all that's left is the garden. So to the roof I return, and while I'm messing with my plants, what must have been the golden light moss came into adulthood and the trophy popped.
Yes!
Fucking platinum, let's go!
Quickly followed by that beautiful platinum. Now, after my roughly 30-hour journey in a galaxy far away, I can confidently say that I had a great time. Despite some extreme frustrations with the way the game's combat can be at times, especially on Grandmaster during certain fights, like the extremely bullshit double frog, I still came out of the experience feeling better for it and more than happy to have committed to the adventure. None of the trophies were all that bad. I applaud the developers for not making me do 100% collectibles, because that would have really sucked. For the most part, they were just fun tasks to get done, with only a few rather less than enjoyable grinds. So thank you so much for joining me. Like and subscribe for more content like this, because there's going to be plenty, and I hope you all have a great day.